Welcome, Summer. How are
Hi,
you?
I'm so good. How are you?
Good, thank you. So our special guest today is Summer Sheldon, who is a hand-in-hand parenting certified instructor as well. And how long have you been with us, Summer?
I I found Hand in Hand back in like 2010, so about 14 years is when I started as a parent,
Awesome.
and then I took the certification class the year of 2012. 2013, and then it took me a little while to finally get certified, but I taught classes throughout since then, so yeah.
Awesome. Maybe if you can remember that little point to come back to later, because I do want to touch on the whole. Sometimes it takes a bit longer for people to certify, and so we'll come back to that, and hopefully you'll remember one of us will. So I wanted to ask you, what made you certify?
Yeah, so I when I found Hand in Hand, it was just like all of a sudden I couldn't get enough, and I was like every back then we did telecalls, like where we would call in and listen to Patty talk, and everything that was available I just was consuming, and it just wasn't enough. I was in a community that um didn't share my parenting values, and I felt really isolated and alone. And so that for me was the thing that kind of tipped me over the edge to wanting to become certified. Mainly, it wasn't necessarily that I even wanted to teach it. It was just that I needed more community and I wanted like the next level. So the fact that the certification program offered like weekly calls and this kind of ongoing support for my parenting journey was honestly kind of that was the main prime directive of it, and then secondary was like, oh yeah, maybe I'll teach it someday. I don't know.
Awesome. Sorry, the reason I'm so bumpy is my cat's decided that she wants to go live, and she's gotten right under my hand and everything. I don't know what she's doing. She's usually not even particularly affectionate. Okay, so some people love the limelight. Awesome. So yeah, so it's now been since I think you said 2014. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Mm-hmm.
So I certified in 2017 myself.
Mm-hmm.
And very similarly, I think that I wasn't necessarily thinking about what I would do professionally, although there's lots of different roads that you can take once you are hand in hand certified. But it was more about I love this modality. It makes sense to me, and I was looking like you were for something that just really made sense on a bigger level and just felt doable for me. Because I felt like a lot of things I came across required me to be kind of superhuman to begin with. And yeah, I think that's the hardest thing is trying to find something that really is for the everyday person.
Yeah.
So yeah, so for me it was about getting that ongoing support and community.
And I know for me, it really did take me about a year and a half to where felt like I could finally actually do the tools sort of without thinking about them, like where it kind of became second nature, because my parenting kind of programming that I came with was so not where I wanted to end up. And so when I found Hand in Hand and I had the support of the instructor group, it was just like that sort of um, kind of being steeped in it day in and day out and getting listening time and the structure. Like I honestly don't know how anyone could do any other, like without doing the 9 months, kind of thing was so helpful for me as a parent. And
Mm.
then by the end, I was so passionate about it and I felt so confident talking about it, because I had, been with my group, my cohort for all that time, and done the work really deeply, that it really transformed the way in which I wasn't just like now teaching it, I was living it out in a different way. And I was able to talk about it in an entirely different way too.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. And so what do you do now since you've become a certified hand in hand instructor? Tell us about all the things you're doing out there. I do know a lot of them.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah.
since I became an instructor, I did actually end up teaching parenting classes through a local community agency that was hiring parenting instructors, and I was able to introduce Hand in Hand into kind of our wider community, working for a nonprofit doing parenting classes. And without Hand in Hand, I would never have had the confidence to do that. So I started down that road, and then I went into ended up using it. I did some caregiving with within like the kind of special needs community, and offered a lot of support to parents that way, which was so amazing. And then from there, I kind of shifted and pivoted and went back to school and became a family counselor. And now I'm a child's play therapist, and I work with parents and kids professionally. And all of that started through my confidence with Hand in Hand and being so passionate. And now as a clinician, I still teach Hand in Hand, after going through a master's program and seeing all the different parenting approaches that are available and all of the science behind everything. Hand in Hand is absolutely where I still land as far as what is good for kids and what is good for families. And I currently lead classes, and I refer if I can't teach one of my like clients, I refer out and just take a class, listen to this podcast, watch this video, follow the Facebook page, whatever it is, because it is such an invaluable resource to parents.
Mm. Yeah, and I guess what you were just saying is then as well, that it fits into lots of different ways, and I'd like to talk about how that works. And I think it's because Hand in Hand is, I don't know, it's been referred to many times as a roadmap. So it's not like some of these things where you have a set guideline of rules and you have to sort of go A, B, C. You've got to follow this to do this, and you've got to reach this next level, or you have to come from a place where, as I said before, like where you're already this totally calm and zen individual that can really hold themselves together in sometimes such explosive situations. It's more of, we have 5 connection tools, and they will look slightly different in every household. And you'll work out, at the base of what we do, of course, is that you know best, and you are wise, and you are the best authority when it comes to what's going to work for you and your children. And that can look so different, particularly in some scenarios. And that's why I think it's so helpful, because it's a support-based method, connection-based method that really looks at you taking care of you so that you can take care of everyone else.
Yeah.
And that will look vastly different in different households.
Yes, and it is amazing how, even like with my own, I've used it in a school, I've used it, with developmentally disabled people, I've used it in this way, I've used it in, all these just different ways of being in the world, and the tools are just always true. It's about attuning to myself and attuning to kiddos, and really seeing and listening really well to both myself. I mean, that's why Patty's book is called Listen, right? It's really just, how do I listen at a different level, and how do I use play? How do I use my calm presence and attention? It really does change everything that way for me. So it's been to say it's been life changing is not even. My kids I've got teenagers now and a preteen, and I still use it. I just did special time this evening. Like it is still very much 100% a part of my life.
Awesome. So if anyone does have any questions, please pop in and say. The other thing I was going to ask you, what's your sort of message to anyone who is thinking about embarking upon certification?
I can't recommend it enough. It feels like such, I mean, if you have any inkling that this is like you found Hand in Hand and it resonates with you, it's just such an incredible community. I think that was the piece that I was just lacking, was like-minded parents who also were in this journey and and wanted to listen to me and help me and support me in a way that I couldn't find, anywhere else. The retreats are incredible. The community, the question message boards, the fact that I can just jump on and have access to all of this incredible thinking and not go it alone. is just, I mean, that in and of itself is worth $1 million. Like all the, it's just, it's literally saved my life. And my, like, some of my favorite people on the planet are like people who are like in Australia, like, and, people who are like on other countries. And I feel so supported in my parenting journey to be able to be like, oh my gosh, can somebody listen to me about this? Or can I hear you're thinking about this? It's
Mm.
just made this whole global nest,
Yeah.
um, for me as a parent, and then for me to support other parents. It's incredible. I love connecting people to hand in hand. It's like the best part of my job.
Awesome. And thank you for touching on the after. So the
Mm-hmm.
commitment initially is that it's 10 months. It's 1 hour. You'll have a 1 hour call a week. You'll have probably 2 to 3 hours worth of work to do each week. But it's not work. It's about, experimenting with the tools wherever you can. So if that's in your household, or if you're an educator, um, or someone who uses them professionally, it's basically you exploring our tools and then coming back with your little community that will be created and sharing, how that's gone for you, learning how to tweak it for your specific situation, and then having lots of listening time, which is one of our cornerstone tools of you also getting that listening support. And afterwards, it goes on. Like, a lot of people do continue to connect with the group that they had initially. Otherwise, we have so many different ways for instructors to stay connected, and we have had, multi-million dollar training donated through this organization, and we are not for profit, we're evidence based, so there's some connections that we have purely through that have given us experiences as instructors that we could not get anywhere else, and that's amazing in and of itself. And to certify, you do have to have done one of our foundation courses. So that's the foundations for parents or for educators or for professionals. And that's why we're starting to talk about this now, because certification will open up around April next year. But in the meantime, taking one of those instructor led week by week courses will need to be done as a prerequisite. So if you've already done one of those, then you're great and good to go. But if you haven't done one of those yet, I'd highly recommend you enroll in one. Summer, do you have any yourself?
No, I mean, it was really truly like doing the foundations course, and it was just like literally the next, I just like couldn't get more. And so that part of like, yeah, take the foundations course, like really steep yourself in it. And then from there on, it just was the natural next step, and it was wonderful.
Yes. Well, yeah, two of us actually on my foundations course with Rachel Schofield. Two of us ended up going on to certification in the same round, which was great. But yeah, that was so inspiring in and of itself that we were like, okay, next.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
it does, you should say, I know we talked on it earlier that it takes 10 months, but for me, the program was 10 months, but I actually ended up getting pregnant, right? It's kind of like right as it was starting. And so my daughter was due when I was supposed to be finishing graduating from the program. And so it just, I think that was the other piece about Hand in Hand, was that the support didn't stop. And it literally took me several more years to finally like finish kind of the pieces that I needed to do first, that, teaching a couple, volunteering here, teaching a couple classes, doing certain things that were the kind of follow-up pieces. And it wasn't like, oh, well, you missed your shot. It was really amazing to like, it took as long as it took. And
Yeah.
I felt the support the whole time, and the community stayed, and I could still go to the retreats, and I could still participate. And it just really was kind of what solidified for me that this community is amazing, that it was like, you're a mom, you have priorities, and you get to do this in your own pace. And it was fantastic.
Yeah. Yes, that's awesome. Yeah, that took as long as it took, and also that, yeah, I think Hand in Hand as an organization does honor your own pace. And it's like we said before about how it fits so many different situations. Pace is very different for different people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Obviously, you had like a very clear reason why it took longer, but for other people, it might be, be neurodivergence, it might be life, it might be work, it might be all sorts of things that mean you're not going to do it to the same timeline, but you'll be supported throughout that process. So if the time is feeling overwhelming, then again, it doesn't need to be.
Yeah. Yeah, for
So
sure.
thank you so much for joining
Thank you.
us.
Thanks for inviting me to come here and talk about it. And I hope somebody sees this and really gets to enjoy
Yeah,
this aspect of hand in hand.
yeah, yeah. And Summer is doing some amazing things. Do follow Summer because there's lots of offerings there, and it's a treat talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye, Chantal.
Bye. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in, and we hope you will consider certification. We'll speak to you soon.
Bye.